Now, in news out a few minutes ago, the NPA has welcomed the dismissal of Advocate Matric Luphondo, who is the former Acting Director General of Public Prosecutions. Luphondo is currently facing charges in the Pretoria High Court. He was found guilty at his dismissal hearing of offering a bribe to a senior state advocate to withdraw a case against a senior government officials at the Human Settlements Department in Mpumalanga. Joining us live now is the spokesperson for the NPA, Mthunzi Mhaga. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I guess as the NPA, as your statement says, a very welcomed verdict in this case.
Indeed, we welcome the dismissal because we believe strongly that it does not belong within the ranks, especially senior ones within the NPA. We are also taken aback by the fact that the institution's reputational image is dented by this occurrence. We are also, however, comforted by the fact that the dismissal itself will be a demonstration that the NPA's anti-corruption drive of rooting out corrupt elements within its ranks is gaining momentum. Obviously, he has rights within which to explore, but we are comforted by the decision and we welcome it.
And I mean, of course, it has been a long journey and to get to this point as well. There have been other hiccups as well. He had a plea as well where he wanted to be acquitted of these charges too. How difficult was it to get to this point?
He had explored all avenues, brought a lot of applications challenging the impartiality of the presiding officer, wanting him to recuse himself, which was dismissed. He also had lawyers withdrawing as attorneys of record. At some stage, he had filed in sick leaves, which were dismissed because the authors or affidavits were not forthcoming, confirming the contents thereof. So it's been quite a protracted process, but we're comforted by the fact that finally he has been dismissed and finally the matter is put to rest. What is awaited now is a criminal proceedings that are pending before the Pretoria High Court of Corruption. Even in that regard, we are hoping for a conviction.
And I mean, also speaking about kicking the can down the road and postponing things and using these kinds of tactics, he also had questioned the evidence in question as well in the trial to say that the legitimacy of that sting operation that initially also found that he has a case to answer to. So there have been hurdles upon hurdles, and now we finally have reached this phase. But as you're saying as well that, you know, the damage also to the reputation of the NPA had already been done at that point, and it's great that we've got this kind of ruling right now. But do you think that there are others like him in your ranks?
We can't rule out that possibility, but we don't want to be alarmist. But if evidence comes to the fore that there are other elements of similar nature or characteristics, we would definitely deal with them the same way we dealt with this one. Fortunately, we had a very firm arbitrator who dismissed all meritless applications that he brought forward. And this is where we are at the moment.
Talking about that damage to your reputation as well, moving forward, how do you see that being resuscitated?
Hopefully, when he gets a conviction and a term of imprisonment, which would be welcomed in the event of a conviction, that will bring back the confidence of the public in the entire National Prosecuting Authority. Because remember, this person was an acting director of public prosecutions, heading the entire provincial office of the National Prosecuting Authority. Therefore, he held a high office, and therefore there were highest ethical standards and practices and values that were required of him. We ascribe to professionalism, integrity, credibility, and accountability, which are all engulfed in our values as the NPA. So this is a breach of those values. Fortunately for us, we had a firm arbitrator who lived up to expectations because there was mounting evidence against him, which could not be ignored.
Yeah, and also with such a case, when we're talking about that trust deficit that is between just members of the public and the NPA as well, when you do have news like this, it is welcomed as well. But then when we think about other cases where there could have been some sort of negativity that happened, criminality also that happened, it doesn't also leave a good taste in one's mouth.
It doesn't at all, because the reputational damage to the institution also has a bearing on the current leadership of the institution, has a bearing on a prosecutor sitting in court and a member of the public who has confidence in that prosecutor to say, isn't it possible that a case that has been withdrawn, struck off roll, found not guilty, there may have been corrupt element involved? That's why we want to reclaim that space, to reclaim and restore the confidence of the public with this decisive decision that has been taken by the arbitrator, and also the vigorous prosecution that will come before the Pretoria High Court to ensure that we root out elements of corruption within our ranks, especially at a senior level.
Yeah, when you're mentioning also the current leadership as well, that it doesn't bode well for them, who also are trying to clean up the NPA after years of just a lot going on in that institution as well. How difficult then is it when you have to be also looking back at a culture of something like this happening?
It's not an easy task to lead a critical institution like the NPA, which is central to the administration of justice within the justice, crime and security cluster. And therefore, the spotlight is always on the NDPP. The spotlight is always on the leadership of the institution. And therefore, when this came before the table of the Director of Public Prosecution in the North Gauteng, he had no doubt that this needs to be dealt with decisively, which is what has happened in this. And this is a clear demonstration of our commitment to ensure that we root out corrupt elements, to ensure that we hold those corrupt elements within the institution that are tarnishing the image of the institution, that are tarnishing the entire criminal justice system accountable.
Well, thank you so much for that update as well. Really appreciate it. That is also coming out from our breaking news story. A former senior leader in the NPA, Advocate Luphondo's dismissal on those corruption charges. Just speaking to the NPA spokesperson there.